What is good, everyone, and welcome to Weekday Wagers. My name is Mark. I'm sitting in the host chair that is usually filled by Daniel Greer, but with DG down in Atlanta taking in some baseball. He says it's work, but he's taking in some baseball too. That means just I get to run the controls for a little bit. So glad you could join us on this Wednesday. We got a ton of stuff going on in the sports world, ton of stuff to cover. You know I can't do this alone, so let's bring in Robby Hockey. Rob, how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Yeah, DG, it's a Marcell Ozuna bobblehead night. If you're watching, be sure you get your bobblehead tonight.
A bobblehead for a bobblehead. Hey, listen, before we get yeah, I said it. Before we get going anymore, I just have to say, listen, if you haven't already gone over and joined up with JustStatSports.com, head on over there. Use the code right there. You see it scrolling at the bottom. Use promo code BTT30. Gets you your first 30 days for free. You're going to get access to all the AI model projections, the player prop data sheets, the Yerfy data sheets, all of Rob's player props. The stuff that you have been hitting, Rob, has been absolutely insane. What did you do the last couple of days?
Well, let's go past the last couple of days and go to Sunday when I hit. It was like a plus 650 and a plus 1100 parlay I hit. But the last couple of days, it's been ice cold. It's been one of those where head-to-head motivation, all that has just been thrown out the window. Like if you had Mikael Granlund to score even one goal, much less three last night, hey, salute to you, man. I did not have that on my bingo card.
No, to your point, it's been tough. These NHL playoffs have really been difficult. It's from a player prop standpoint, all the way around, just handicapping all the way around. And we're going to get into more of that here shortly because I know we got some picks specifically for the ice. But yeah, to your point, I was on Mikko Rantanen last night to have, 2 points. He ends up with 1 assist and calls that done, not even a shot on goal. So whatever.
I gave out Wyatt Johnston yesterday as well. He had 4 shots on goal, but nothing fell for him last night.
Well, as we do here every day on Weekday Wagers, let's begin the way we always begin. Rob, what's the word?
The word is fight. That's where I wore my Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt because we're going to see an ass whipping tonight. Not for one side or the other, but just a straight up ass whipping tonight with Toronto and Florida. I expect a lot of fights. I expect a lot of penalties. And when you get penalties, that leads to what we call opportunities. So I'm here for it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I have a question, though. Do you think, I remember when the Islanders and Rangers met and there was some still unfinished business that they had to deal with. And we weren't even 2 seconds in and the starting five for both teams ended up with 10-minute majors. Do you see something like that happening tonight? Or do you see it as more targeted aggression and picking their spots and really trying to go at it then?
If it was the other foot, if Florida had took the cheap shot at the end of the game last game, I could see that. But Florida is crafty. Like Sam Bennett gets away with anything, and it's because he just conceals it. Like he does a lot of stuff, and it's very concealed. They're not blatant. And I think Florida knows, hey, it's game 5. We need this win. We win this one. We go home. We close this series out. I think they're going to be out for blood, but I think they can do it in a craftier way than just dropping the gloves and getting going.
Gotcha. I tend to agree. I think it's not going to be that all-out brawl. I think that they're going to be very targeted, and I think that we're going to see a lot of sneaky penalties drawn by the Panthers against Toronto, which I think ultimately puts Toronto in a defensive and protective position. So anyway, that being that, we do have a question from JC1. Say y'all missing DG. DG is doing fine. He's coming back. He's on a little work trip / vacation down in Atlanta. He's taking in some work and some baseball. So he's been keeping us all posted. He will be here on Friday for the Weekend Wagers. So no worries there. My word, Rob, is I'm at a loss. And I guess I don't know what to do about it. I want to know how the hell the New York Knicks are still underdogs with Jason Tatum officially out with that season-ending, possibly career-ending Achilles tendon surgery that he had yesterday. I mean, It's one of the most devastating injuries in all of sports, and yet the odds makers are still posting Boston as the favorite. Tatum leads the Celtics in points at 26.9, rebounds at 8.1, and usage rate at 31%. Over 30% of the time Celtics have the ball, it's going through Tatum's hands. That's not a guy you just kind of casually replace and be like, all right, next man up. Without him, Boston loses its top isolation scorer, a primary shot creator, and the one guy who consistently bends defenses. They become so much easier to guard and easier to push off the boards. They're way less dangerous at clutch time now. And in a series that's been so close, I don't know how that kind of an impact player could ever be taken so lightly by the books. It just doesn't make sense to me. Can you help it make sense to me?
I can try to give you some pointers that why I think maybe they're underdogs in this one. One of it is they are 9-2. Boston are 9-2 without Tatum. You know, they got Jaylen Brown, they got Peyton Pritchard, and I know Porzingis is beat up, and he's going to have to step up. It is in Boston, as Big Tommy C said today. They do well at home. Maybe it's coming up. They are the defending champions, so they do have the experience. It's the Knicks. I mean, what have the Knicks done to put fear into anybody? This is like their time to disappoint when it comes to their fans.
We're not talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs here, Robbie. We're talking about the New York Knicks. They've already won in Boston this series. They're already won.
I know.
They're going there. They could close this thing out.
I know, but they've also made it to the semis the last 2 years, and they've choked it out both years. So it's a little bit of that. But I'm not betting against the Knicks. I don't honestly understand why they're 5.5 point underdogs. The time is now for New York to get past them and move on to probably playing Indiana, I guess is who they're playing next.
Gotcha. I think so too. I think Indiana, because they won last night. So anything else going on with you this Wednesday that has caught your eye?
Yeah, so Philadelphia has a new head coach. I'm guessing it's all but done, but they're hiring Rick Tocchet from Vancouver. A lot of this has to do with, I know at the end of the year, there was a lot of drama in the locker room with Pedersen and Miller. They traded off Miller. I don't feel like he got everybody's full abilities this year. Like Quinn Hughes at the end of the year was kind of down. Also, Tocchet has family on the East Coast, so that was a big decision maker for him to leave Vancouver and come closer to the East Coast. But Philly needs a lot of help. They're good offensively. They have a lot of guys: Travis Konechny, Matvey Michkov, and Owen Tippett come to mind. But goaltending has got to have some work, and defense is definitely going to have a lot of work if they want to try to compete.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I think that the Flyers have been a great team for me, especially this year, to really target, and especially on puck line plays. They had been phenomenal, specifically because of their goaltending. Their goaltending's in shambles, and Eriksson they're working him way too much. He's getting too much playing time for a goalie of his level, in the sense that he shouldn't be playing that much. That they should be able to find somebody who's a little bit better in goal. So I agree with you there. I hope that this new coaching change kind of brings new life to Philly. Philly's 5 hours down the road. I'd love to go down and catch a game or two. So yeah, kudos to that. But we're not all about just breaking news and updates. Rob, what do you plan for tonight?
So I'm going to that Toronto, Florida game. I'm going with Matthew Knies, anytime point or 1+ point at -108 and anytime goal +260. He has a point in 6 of his last 10 games overall, and he has 4 multi-point games as well. And he has a point in 3 of his last 5 at home versus Florida. All 3 of those games were multi-point games as well. The biggest thing in this game is you want to pick guys that aren't going to be in those scrums. You don't want to pick the guys that's going to be in the fights and in the penalty box. Knies is big enough. Honestly, I think Knies could go toe-to-toe with anybody on Florida. He's that big. But I think this opens up the opportunity for Knies to hopefully get that power play going for Toronto. They're going to need it because I think they're 2-15 on their last 15 power play opportunities against Florida. So looking for Matthew Knies to step up and get on the score sheet tonight.
Yeah, I think to your point, Knies is a big boy, and he is literally he has been that heartbeat for Toronto during these playoffs. It's going to be real interesting. I am so excited about this game to see the way that it plays out. I just really I'm so interested to see how Florida responds. So we'll go from there. I'm switching gears, moving off the ice, moving away from the playoffs, going back into something that has a little more regularity to it. And I am back all over the fade the White Sox. I know that they won last night in extra innings. Big deal. The White Sox are who we thought they were. Okay? I'm not deterred by this at all. I love this play even more because they won last night. This isn't about emotion. It's about regression. The Sox have still lost 29 of the last 42, and they have been a brutal 4-17 on the road. One lucky win doesn't change who they are. Today, they're sending out Davis Martin, who has a ERA north of 4. He has a 141 whip, and he's going into a hitter-friendly park against a Reds team that's been heating up early in games. Cincinnati's going to counter with Nick Lodolo. He's been dealing as of late. He's got a 3.23 ERA, not bad, but he's got a 1.01 whip, and he's been money at home. The Reds have the better arm, the better bullpen, and the more dynamic offense. And while the White Sox are still averaging just 3.3 runs a game, last night was a blip. Today, it's the beatdown. I'm taking Cincinnati on the run line at -110 because the fade the Sox movement rolls on.
I love that. The Sox are good for 1 in about 10. They got their 1 yesterday, so it's finally back to just being the White Sox. I like that play.
I still am holding their under 50 wins. It's under 50.5 for the season. So, yeah, it's been a little bit of a sweat here early, but I am banking on the fact that the Sox are who we thought they are. And exactly. You're right. It's the White Sox. That's who they are. What hasn't sucked is the little thing that we like to call the daily dinger. And we didn't hit last night, Rob. I don't know what's going on. This week feels really different because usually by now we're 1 or 2 of these home run props in. And I'm looking at this list, and I do believe this is the most that we have had any sort of images on this graphic for players since we started doing this.
It's quite a list. I did hit Wyatt Langford, but I wasn't on the show, so it didn't count. But I did get Wyatt Langford on Monday.
All right. See, listen.
Just to help us out, this is for me and you because, we're the only ones that know how to do this around here, actually hit a dinger. So just wanted to point that out.
That's true. Although I do believe that DG's going with the Big Bear with Marcelo Zuna at 430. Rob, who do you like off today's list and why?
So I'm going in Tampa, going with Brandon Lowe plus 575. He has 4 home runs in his last 10 games versus the Blue Jays, and he has 3 home runs on Chris Bassett in 12 plate appearances. I'm kind of kicking myself because his teammate, Jonathan Aranda, really popped for me yesterday when I was looking up who I'd like to pick for home runs. It's always that guy that you saw, you thought, and you didn't actually pull the trigger. So I'm pulling the trigger tonight, going Tampa, going Brandon Lowe plus 575.
Interesting. I saw this and 2 things jumped out at me. One, I really like Bryce Harper, but that was in game 1 and that's already started. So I couldn't play Bryce Harper because he's absolutely owned Eric Fede. Aaron Judge, you and I were talking before the show. I think that we both agree he's absolutely due. Another guy who's due. Over there on the left-hand side of this graphic, swinging the bat, my man Goldie, Paul Goldschmidt at plus 750. Listen to this. He's got 43 at-bats, 10 hits, 3 of those 10 home runs. I love this spot, especially playing against Seattle in a ballpark that tends to give up lots of runs. I love this spot for Goldschmidt to get us through and get me back on the Daily Dinger winning ways.
I like that. I also agree that with Aaron Judge, we were talking about Aaron Judge, and I got to go with Shohei Ohtani every day. I know I'm like that guy that always picks Pete Alonso, but I think he's getting one tonight as well.
So you think Shohei's going yard as well?
I do. He hasn't faced can't draw on a blank. He hasn't had a matchup against the guy, but the guy just gives up meatballs. He's gonna rake tonight. It's gonna be Shohei Ohtani. I would even say first at bat. If he doesn't get walked, he's hitting a home run.
Now that's something I know that's something you can play on BetMGM.
Yes, you can. I may have sprinkled on that.
Yeah, I gotta see what those odds are. I'd be really impressed with that'd be a great call, by the way. I don't know that's not a saloon shot call, but it would be a great call.
No. Yeah, it's just your winning Wednesday call. That's all we can call that one. But yeah, I'm calling.
Uh-oh. Any thoughts? And I know we just covered up our faces, and that's probably the best thing for this program is my face being hidden. But Danny says that good old DG, Robby out here calling everyone to get a home run so he can act like he calls his shot tomorrow. DG, enjoy the game.
I've called about as many guys as I've hit in this segment, and I need to understand how many he's hit in this segment because
I was just going to say that. You know what? Let me call this shot. DG's not making a daily dinger hit tonight. So there's my lock of the day. But Rob, that is going to wrap up our Wednesday. Anything else? What's on your radar? Anything that you're kind of keeping your finger on the pulse of?
Yeah, pre-show there was actually a couple more breaking news. The Canucks are promoting Adam Foote. He's their assistant coach. He's been there since 2022. He came over with Rick Tocchet. He's never been a head coach before, so as a Preds fan, I wish you well, but I'm glad Rick Tockett's gone. Also, Derrick Henry just signed a 2-year, $30 million extension to stay in Baltimore, so he's shored up for the next couple of years as well.
Interesting. And keeping with the NFL news, your Dallas Cowboys in a Thanksgiving Day game with the Chefs.
The Chefs, yes. My son's favorite team and my nemesis coach's favorite team. As a Cowboys fan, everybody is excited for the schedule release, and all I see is 0-2, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. We get to open against the champs, and then I get to eat Thanksgiving and watch us play against the other team that was in the Super Bowl. Should just be another great year for me and the boys.
Listen, I don't know what's worse, is Cowboy fans and the therapy they need or Bills fans prior to the arrival of Josh Allen and all of the therapy they needed. At any rate, I hope for your sake you have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday despite the Dallas Cowboy performance. But with that being said, my name's Mark Wallace for Robby Hockey. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday. We will be back here again tomorrow, 2:00 Eastern Standard Time, right here on Coach and Company. Make sure, tell your family, tell your friends, join us. It's quick, in, out, real easy to get your afternoon going. Until tomorrow, let's cash some tickets. Be good. Oh, you know what? I do this every time, Rob. And DG's laughing at me right now. I can hear him all the way.